Well, only 8 players in NFL history have nabbed at least 100 touchdown passes. Only 6 of them have also racked up 14,000 receiving yards. And only one of them has also won college football's Heisman Trophy. That player, gridiron legend Tim Brown. Take a look.
Tim Brown is known as one of the best wide receivers in NFL history. In his 16 seasons with the Raiders, he earned 9 Pro Bowl selections and set numerous league records. While playing for the NFL was hard enough, Tim also faced many temptations on and off the field that challenged his integrity. In his book, The Making of a Man, Tim shares how he became one of the most respected men in football and what he did to honor God with his life.
And Tim Brown is here with us now. Tim, it's such an honor to meet you.
My pleasure. Good to be here.
Bless you. I'm
Absolutely.
loving your book.
Well, thank you.
The Making of a Man. Well, Tim, you grew up in Dallas.
Yes.
By the time you were 6, you had been burned with an iron, stabbed by your sister. You tried to set the house on fire. What in the world was going on?
That's growing up in South Dallas, growing up in the hood, things happen, So, I had a sister who was, a little diabolical when it came to fighting. She didn't fight fair, that's for sure.
Maybe she made you the football player you are.
That's exactly right.
Now, you dedicate the book to your dad, and you say, even if I was scared of you half the time, whatever it took to get it done, you got it done. I am so grateful to be your son. What kind of dad was he?
My dad was a no-nonsense dad. He didn't. When he spoke, that was the given word. That was it. There was no back talk. There was no but dad. When he said whatever he said, even before he died. I mean, I was 44 years old when he passed away. When he spoke, we didn't say, but Dad, we want to do this. When he said a word, that was just the end of it right there.
It instilled a lot of respect.
Absolutely, yeah.
But now he didn't go to church with you all, but your mom took you and all your siblings. There were seven kids.
6 kids.
6 kids to church every Sunday.
Yeah, he supported. He had a bad incident, early in life and really never got over it. He would go with us Father's Day and Easter. But my mom, she was a missionary in church. So Wednesday, Friday, all day Sunday.
Yeah.
When I say all day Sunday, Wednesday, I mean all day Sunday. We were at church. So I think if he was the
And there's your mom. Is she still living?
Yeah, mom is still around. Absolutely.
Awesome.
Living and doing well, very well, thank God. But Dad always supported us going to church, and I think if he would have been different, we would have been different. If we would have had the opportunity to stay home, then maybe we would be different kids.
Well, we always talk about how important it is to have a man in the house to know how to be a man, but we know there's a lot of kids growing up that don't have fathers. How important is it for a mom to teach her sons how to be a man, because sometimes that's the only person they have in the house to teach them? Yeah,
and it's a very difficult thing, and I don't know if you heard Kevin Durant giving his mom props for winning the most valuable player in the NBA this year. So obviously it can be done, but it's impossible for a woman to teach a man how to really be a man.
Yeah.
There are certain things you're going to have to get from a man.
Sure.
And I'm sure Kevin got some things from his coaches and from some of the people around him, and mom was there to support it and say, hey, look, this is who you should be learning from, no doubt about it. But you have to have that man around, or have that male role model around in order to be the man that really, to be the man that God wants you to be too.
Well, let's flash back a little bit. Legendary coach Lou Holtz said you were perhaps the greatest player that he ever coached. That's quite a compliment. But with all that success, Tim, came a lot of temptations, namely women. Now, you had been brought up in the church, but the women were everywhere, and that was a problem for you.
It was a huge problem. It was a huge problem for me because, they didn't make me work. That was a problem, So this was like a no-brainer type thing, and it just sort of got out of control. And when you get to the point where you can't look at yourself in the mirror, you can't, wash your face.
You were shaving in the dark because you couldn't.
I was cutting my face, and then people were like, "What's wrong with you? You don't drink, so why are you cutting your face?" And you didn't want to tell people what you were really going through, but it was just something I knew I had to get away from, and there was only one way to get away from it, and that was through God.
And when you, in that process of being convicted and coming back to the Lord, there was a girl in a polka dot dress that caught your attention and eventually became your wife. Her name is Charisse.
Yes.
What was it about Charisse that was different and drew you?
Well, I had dreamt of my perfect woman, and I knew I was already in love with this woman even before I met her. So when I met her, she fit everything that I wanted in my wife. She was beautiful. She can cook. You know, being a Southern boy, that's high on the list. You know,
I remember, I like what you said in the book. You're like, you'd heard she could cook, but you didn't know she could cook.
Right. There's a difference between cooking and throwing down, you know, is what we call it. But, you know, the most important thing about Sharice was she was a godly woman. And at the time I met her, she was coming off a 6-month consecration. And, you know, so she had...
And she wasn't all that impressed with the fact that you could do what you do on the football field.
Yeah, you know, she tells people, I didn't know who Tim Brown was. You know, I had never heard the name. I'm like, you know, really? You know, I mean, that's one of the things she likes to tell me.
That still hurts a little bit, doesn't it?
I don't believe it. I still don't believe it today, but she's sticking to it, though, so it's okay. It's okay.
And you guys made a commitment to abstain from sex
Yes.
until marriage, and that was new territory for you.
Well, you know, and I think the distance helped too, because she was down in L.A. and I was in Oakland, so
Sure.
we got married, and I went to Dallas and she was in L.A. and so things happened pretty quickly. But
I love this picture.
You know,
in the book, you say, I couldn't wait till the boat docked.
Yeah, it was like, it's time for this boat to dock. It's time to go home now. So, yeah, but, you know, I think having that type of relationship was obviously totally different than any relationship I had ever had up at that particular point. So, but God was good. He was, he gave me exactly what I needed, and things worked out great.
You have 4 children.
Yes.
And how many sons?
2 sons.
2 sons.
Yes.
Tim, you've written a book called The Making of a Man. When you're talking to your sons, and there's your gorgeous family right there, there's everybody, what do you tell them that it takes to make a man? What makes a man?
God's principles. You have to live by God's principles. And that's a very difficult thing, because this world is telling us just the opposite at this particular point. And I tell them, if your dad lived the way he wanted to live, the way my mind and my flesh tells me to live, you guys can walk out the house, you know, proud and not ashamed of who your dad is. So the only reason I am able to do that is because on a daily basis, on a second-by-second basis, I am trying to live by God's principles.
And I know you speak everywhere. And what do you tell young men about the way that they should treat women and the way that they should think about women?
Well, I really tell them the opposite of what I did growing up, because I don't think I was very respectful for women, even though I didn't disrespect women. When I look back on it, you know, part of that transition came because I knew I had hurt a woman. I knew that this woman wanted to be with me like girlfriend, boyfriend, and I wanted no parts of that. And I had a younger sister. I have a younger sister, and I knew I would be having kids one day, and I just didn't want my kids to be in that same situation, or my daughters. So, yeah, you know. It's a very difficult thing, because, you know, we see what we want and we want what we see, and it becomes...
And that's part of making a man, is resisting temptation.
Resisting temptations, you have to get away from it.
Doing the right thing.
Absolutely.
There's so much more in this book. I couldn't put it down last night. It was like after midnight. I'm like, Wendy, you got to go to sleep. And great for women, too, not just for men. Hey, we want to know what you guys are thinking about. All right,
Thank
so
you.
Tim's book is called The Making of a Man, How Men and Boys Honor God and Live with Integrity. It's available wherever books are sold. Tim, again, thanks so much.
Thank you, Wendy.
God
Appreciate
bless you.
Same to you.